Minister.
Madam Speaker, I rise to deliver the Ministerial Report on Silkwood, notified on the 29th of July 2025. I move. I have to deliver the report now before it be noted. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to give an update on the government's historic acquisition of the parcel of land known as Silkwood. Our government has been very clear. Restoring our territory lifestyle is one of our key priorities. Before the election last year, we made a promise that Territorians would have more places to camp, swim, four-wheel drive hunt and explore under a CLP government, because we know these activities are more than just fun things to do. Here in the Territory, it's our way of life. Through our historic acquisition last month of the parcel of land known as Silkwood, we are delivering on that promise. This landmark $7.5 million deal will see an expansion of the areas available for tourism and recreation in the Litchfield area. This is the largest land purchase for preservation by the NT government in a generation. 30,000 hectares of natural landscape, equivalent to 15,000 TIO stadiums. We all know we love running up and down there, Madam Speaker. Imagine running up and down 30,000 hectares of natural landscape in the Northern Territory bush. You have got to go back 25 years to see anything of this size and scale acquired by the Territory. In 2000, the NT government acquired a significant parcel of land in Central Australia that would go on to become Owen Springs Reserve. The Silkwood property borders the southeast boundary of Litchfield National Park and is just 120 kilometres from Darwin. The parcel of land includes the much-loved Robin Falls, which, although private property, the public was able to access under a special land agreement. By acquiring the Silkwood property, we will now be able to open up a spectacular new southern section of land featuring untouched waterfalls, gorges, hot springs and four-wheel drive tracks. Importantly, we will also be honouring our commitment to create a new hunting reserve within the purchased land. Recreational hunting has existed within Litchfield National Park under previous CLP governments and can play an integral role in the management of feral animals like buffalo and pigs. In his NT News column following the Silkwood announcement, NT Field and Games Bart Irwin wrote, and I quote, Madam Speaker, "When I heard the announcement of the expansion of Litchfield National Park with the purchase of Silkwood Station by the country Liberal government, to say I was pleased hunting would be included would be an understatement. This government is true to its word that hunting is at the forefront of their view of Territory lifestyle. For the first time in 8 years, it isn't just fishing, fishing, fishing. Hunters are now constituents that this government values too." End of quote, Madam Speaker. In 2024, the Silkwood properties comprising Adelaide River Downs, Spitfire Creek and the Grand Plateau were listed for sale. The combined asking price for the three parcels at that time was initially $18 million. In December 2024, the NT News reported that the asking price for the full Silkwood property was reduced to $14 million. The report also indicated that an additional parcel of land, Lot 7358, known as Anniversary Creek, adjacent to Robin Falls, would be added to the sale portfolio. As a new government, we watch these moves closely. We received concerned correspondence from the local four-wheel drive clubs who had looked the other way agreements to access the land from Dr. Cooper, who were rightly worried that the private sale of the property would limit future access. According to the four-wheel drive clubs, the smaller parcels of land already sold off had seen a flurry of no trespass signs erected in the areas, as well as lock gates restricting access. In January 2025, at the direction of our government, the Departments of Lands, Planning and Environment enlisted an independent valuer to assess the current market value of the land. Department officials then proceeded to negotiate with the landowner on the 3 lots of Silkwood sitting in the western side of Dorrat Road. The offer was based on current market value and the fact that we wanted this land back into the hands of Territorians before it was sold off and locked up by private buyers. 30,000 hectares of pristine land. As I've said before, the size of 15,000 TIO stadiums for $7.5 million represents good value for money, Madam Speaker. This is an investment in the Territory's future to help grow tourism and our economy, and so that future generations can enjoy our great lifestyle. As many have said, Madam Speaker, land. It's the one thing they're not making any more of. As I mentioned, the Silkwood land acquisition by our government includes 3 land lots. Adelaide River Downs, which includes Robin Falls, Spitfire Creek and Anniversary Creek. The start of these properties are located just 2 kilometres south of Adelaide River and stretch 30 kilometres south to the Daly River Road in the Robinson Falls locality. Key highlights of the land include diverse terrain from floodplains rising to undulating sandstone and limestone plains and rises including large plateaus. Abundant natural attractions such as the spring-fed Robin Falls, crystal clear hot springs, lost city formations, cascades, lush rainforests, gorges, waterfalls, savanna grassland and spectacular escarpment views. Accessible via all-season bitumen road access via Doorat Road, the old Stuart Highway, that meanders through the centre of the property. Opportunities for ecotourism development. The native timber covering most of the property is bloodwood and eucalypt woodland, varying in density throughout, depending on the type of terrain. Four-wheel drive NT President Mickey Barrett told the NT News following our announcement that the high escarpments in the area meant it could be enjoyed when most of the top-end swimming and camping options shut due to wet weather. He said, and I quote, "One of the main advantages of this area is you can go mid-monsoon, up through river crossings, all the way up and camp," he said. Mid-wet season in a beautiful little pristine forest, little swimming holes, is pretty rare in Darwin. He also added, Madam Speaker, "This is a monumental day for driving and recreation in the NT. To secure this and protect it for years to come, to have it open and accessible for Territorians and interstate visitors to come and see it is rather spectacular." End of quote. Of course, Madam Speaker, our acquisition will also preserve native flora and fauna in the area for decades to come. 30,000 hectares of escarpments, woodlands and wetlands return to public hands, protecting our ecosystems and wildlife. The Environment Centre NT, now this is rare, Madam Speaker, this is very rare. They welcomed the announcement, telling the NT News the Litchfield's expansion was fantastic news because it would protect the flying foxes, water monitors, bats and quolls that live in Litchfield. So why do we need Silkwood, Madam Speaker, you might be asking? The Department of Tourism and Hospitality have advised ongoing access issues in Kakadu National Park is causing our Territory-managed parks to become overcrowded, placing increased pressure on existing visitor nodes. This is particularly the case for Litchfield National Park, which on average receives around 250,000 visitors a year. That's good news, Madam Speaker. People are using these parks, but we need more places close to Darwin for them to enjoy. Within Litchfield National Park, there is no option for expansion of popular sites like Bewley. Thank you very much. Bewley Rockhole, Florence Falls, Wanguri Falls and Tolma Falls, which have all fixed capacity due to space and environmental constraints. The newly opened Central Valley is also operating at capacity, with camping sites unable to be expanded beyond the current allocation due to the narrow nature of the creek. As a result, Territorians are missing out on these popular campgrounds at Litchfield, with the current allocation of sites booked out well ahead of the start of the dry season. NT Parks and Wildlife report that during peak season camping, occupancy exceeds 90% across Litchfield. The issue of overcrowding is noted in the NT Park's 10-year activation plan, which states, and I quote, Madam Speaker, "There are signs that some of our park offerings are at the limit of what they can sustainably support in visitor numbers. For example, Litchfield National Park is experiencing very high visitation to many of its visitor nodes, and there are starting to be problems associated with the number of people at sites and challenges managing and balancing tourism, offerings and recreational usage. Products like the 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙋𝙎 Trail within Nipmuc National Park book out often on the same day that the trail opens for bookings each season." End quote. Extensive consultation with Territorians and stakeholders occurred in the development of the NT Parks Master Plan and 10-year activation plan. During this extensive public consultation, strong support was indicated for new parks and reserves to be identified in the Territory. According to the reports, Territorians want new parks to improve biodiversity conservation, cultural heritage protection, recreational and tourism opportunities, and spread the load of visitation on existing parks and reserves, increase hunting opportunities, and find land that is fit for purpose. Excuse me, Madam Speaker. The NT Parks Master Plan states, and I quote, "Territorians overwhelmingly wish to see parks and reserves expanded for the protection of biodiversity and cultural heritage." End quote. The acquisition of Silkwood will provide new tourism opportunities, with the land parcels offering access to several natural attractions and Litchfield National Park. Its close proximity to Darwin and access to the Stuart Highway makes it an ideal stop-off location for self-drive tourists. The opportunities for commercial integration throughout the area will help reinvigorate tourism in the top end with the introduction of new products into the market, such as new multi-day remote hikes and bush camping, four-wheel drive tracks and swimming holes, and the regional town of Adelaide River is expected to benefit from increased visitation, creating new opportunities for local tourism, services and economic growth. And who doesn't love a Barra burger at Adelaide River, Madam Speaker? More tourists through Adelaide River means more support for local businesses and jobs, and that's central to our government's plan to rebuild the economy. Now that the land is acquired by the government, it can be used to expand the Northern Territory Parks estate. Responsibility for its ongoing management and any infrastructure requirements will rest with the Department of Tourism and Hospitality, including all landholder responsibilities. And I look forward to seeing Minister Boothby's vision for this wonderful new parcel. Any ongoing funding requirements associated with the management of the acquired land will be the subject of future budget bids. When it comes to private investment in the area, we are already testing the waters with investors in the tourism industry. The recent investment summit surveyed the area with positive feedback. We will now work closely with local four-wheel drive groups who have intimate knowledge of the area to master plan what the next few years look like. But early indication is that the area could be home to an additional range of swimming sites, with most having all-weather access, plus room for dozens of new campsites. While the land is now open to the public, it is expected signage and official infrastructure for the first lot of bush camps, walks and swimming spots will be rolled out within the next 2 to 3 years. It will be status quo at Robin Falls, and we will be maintaining this area as dog-friendly, something that a lot of people want their friendly poochers to be able to join them, Madam Speaker. In summing up, our acquisition of Silkwood is more than just a map change, much more. This is a transformational and visionary investment in our lifestyle, livability and landscape. It is exactly what restoring our Territory lifestyle looks like, protecting our stunning natural beauty while ensuring Territorians have more places to enjoy the activities we love. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the staff in my Department of Lands, Planning and Environment for acting quickly and wisely to secure the fantastic opportunities that this strategic land acquisition presents. I would sincerely also like to especially mention Kerry O'Brien, Leah Clifford and Joe Townsend, who worked on this over a long period of time to ensure that it could happen. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Member for Daly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the purchase of Silkwood property is something that Labor welcomes. This is something that I welcome as the local member for Daly. I think most of you know that Litchfield National Park sits in my electorate of Daly River, and I know there are a lot of people very excited by this announcement, especially those small businesses around Adelaide River, the small businesses even down the road to Daly River. It's another incentive for people to continue to stop in at the Silkwood property, the expansion of Litchfield National Park, to then head down to support our local businesses down to Daly River, our fishing industry, our fishing tour guides down at Daly River, our fishing tour parks down in Daly River, but also the businesses in Adelaide River, such as Mount Bundy. We know that Tim Carter, I'm sure the member for Barkly knows Tim Carter quite well. He's got a business down there in, is it Daly Waters pub it is, he owns down there, but also the expansion he's done to Mount Bundy Station. He's upgraded the facilities there, so people will be able to stay at his business when they're passing through to the expansion of Litchfield National Park, Madam Speaker. Standing as one of the Territory's most visited national parks, it is vital for tourism. It is a key source of income for hundreds of top-end businesses, and it attracts tourists who use local tourist operators in the Territory, with over 250,000 people visiting annually. As the member representing the Daily electorate, which encompasses the Litchfield National Park, I do welcome this for residents and businesses, as I just stated before. It's an extra 30,000 hectare parcel of land for tourists and residents to explore and stay in the rural area. That means local towns, as I mentioned, like Adelaide River, like Dundee, like Bachelor. We shouldn't forget Bachelor, that is the gateway to Litchfield National Park. But there are many businesses there in Litchfield National Park and tourist parks there in Bachelor, but I know they all welcome this. But the only thing we do have a concern with from this side, and it should be noted, was the price, the purchase price. We did find that quite interesting around the sale of the purchase price. At that time, Silkwood, I believe, Silkwood was actually advertised to offer below $5 million. $5 million. That's not a good deal. Anyone going in to buy a property, anyone going in to buy a house, I don't think you go in and offer more than 50% of the asking price. More than 50% of the asking price, which I do find quite concerning, Madam Speaker, that here we have this property that's been bought for more than 50% above the asking price. So just imagine being the sole buyer for a house and somehow agreeing to fork out 50% more than the asking price. It is completely bizarre. I don't think that's a good deal. Not a good deal for Territorians. It's definitely not a good deal for Territorians. And for a government that claims to be fiscally responsible and has just axed $20 million from the tourism budget, this seems like an extraordinary amount to pay. The government needs to come out and explain why they've paid so much, why they've paid more than 50% of the asking price, Madam Speaker. And it's a simple question. It's a simple question around transparency that Territorians deserve and expect to know why it was sold at more than 50% of the asking price. I think it's a genuine question and I think it should be answered because Territorians deserve to know. But we haven't heard anyone from this side. I think Minister Boothby may be speaking on this after. There'll be other members speaking on that after. So I hope they can answer that question, why it was bought for more than 50% of the asking price, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, tourism is a vital part of the Territory's economy. It is a critical job-creating sector that delivers significant financial and lifestyle benefits to our regions and cities. Yet, this government has not provided an ounce of information on its long-term strategy for moving tourism forward in the Territory. Working with the sector, the former Territory Labor government invested strongly in tangible strategies to attract more tourists and support infrastructure and initiatives that would guarantee them a wonderful experience. A wonderful experience that tourists, both internationally and domestic, can enjoy in areas such as Litchfield National Park. Territory Labor put forward a tourism industry strategy, a cruise strategy, tourism strategy, an Aboriginal tourism strategy, a long-term business event strategy, a drive tourism strategy, and an aviation strategy. What has the Minister put forward in her 11 months as part of the CLP government? Nothing new. Nothing new at all. Just following off the previous government's strategies that have come forward. They're just following on from that. But we would like to see something new come from this government. Clearly showing Territorians that there's no real vision and that for the Territory's tourism sector. The tourism sector do an incredible job. They are getting on with that job, but they desperately need the CLP government to back them in. So let's be clear, Madam Speaker, the tourism industry did take a hit following the COVID pandemic. and the former Territory Labor government made significant efforts to turn that around. Year on year, the Territory saw the tourism industry start to recover. The number of domestic visitors increased by 11.3% from the 2021-2024, while average visitor expenditure improved by 18.6%. Why? Because we had a vision for the Territory's tourism industry. I've stated before how the former Territory Labor government promoted growth in international visitation by supporting marketing activities and measures such as the Territory Aviation Attraction Scheme, which caters to both domestic and international flight travel. This remains a vital mechanism moving forward to attracting visitation to the Territory because there was a vision to get the Territory back to its rightful place as Australia's go-to destination. Thanks to those actions, the outlook for tourism remains positive over the long term as the industry continues to grow. However, Madam Speaker, we see this minister still struggling to develop an original idea or vision for the future of the tourism industry in the Territory. Talk about uninspiring. In fact, Madam Speaker, what we have seen is the CLP government actually cutting funding to our tourism sector, committing only $88.4 million in this year's budget. This represents an overall 23% cut following the 2024-2025 Territory budget and is truly poor form from the Tourism Minister, who obviously is unable to argue the case for this critical sector in the Cabinet room. At a time when we need to invest in our tourism sector to ensure competitiveness in both the domestic and international visitation markets, they offer no vision. They don't even seem to understand the critical importance of this sector to our economy and to our lifestyle. Territorians want and need a government that invests in people's success and in a future where every Territorian has the chance to thrive no matter where they live. The screen industry also plays a critical role in attracting tourists in the Territory. The former Labor government absolutely backed in our local screen sector, recognising it as an industry player in its own right and investing accordingly. The Northern Territory screen sector has grown by nearly 468% and injected more than $48 million into the Territory's economy over the past 8 years. Between 2018 and 2024, the former Territory Labor government's strategic investment and vision propelled the industry's rapid expansion. So what did the CLP do? They cut funding to the sector by 30%. Another victim of the Tourism Minister's lack of vision. But it doesn't stop there, Madam Speaker. The CLP's regressive vision for arts and culture in the Northern Territory again demonstrated their lack of understanding of what actually underpins and will further drive the visitor economy forward. Their derogatory, deeply unhelpful commentary on what was formerly the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Gallery in Alice Springs, as well as the art gallery here in Darwin, are appalling. The arts, tourism and business community are all united in their disbelief about the way the CLP have gutted both of those projects that would have seen many more visitors do both ends of the Territory. The missed opportunities is what we hear from many in the community who just shake their heads at the government's incredibly poor judgment in relation to both of these job-creating, economy-boosting projects. The Northern Territory is renowned for its vibrant art scene, offering visitors, both international and domestic, a unique culture that sets it apart from anywhere else in the country. But the CLP won't back it. Instead, they denigrate it and disrespect the many Territory creatives who contribute so much to our community, our vibrancy, our lifestyle. Territorians are still completely in the dark about the fate of the State Square Art Gallery. They're excited about this addition to the city. It is something the business community said was a priority. The CLP has completely destroyed not only this project, but the sense of optimism and excitement Darwin people and Darwin businesses were feeling about it. The same goes for the National Aboriginal Art Gallery of Australia in Alice Springs, Madam Speaker. Modelling showed that the art gallery would grow visitation in Alice Springs by $53,000 and inject an estimated $64 million into the economy each year, which is something that Alice Springs needs, those extra visitation numbers down in Alice Springs. Now, I met with Tourism Top End yesterday to talk about some of those visitation numbers, and the numbers in Alice Springs, they were saying, could be improved by such things as the Aboriginal Art Gallery. Because a lot of people fly directly into Uluru, which is great. That's what we want. We want to see numbers, we want to see people from interstate, internationally, flying directly into Uluru, but then most people fly out from Uluru. I think it was around 20% of people will do the drive on from Uluru back into Alice Springs. So what do we need to attract people in Alice Springs, to get people directly to Alice Springs? Member for Gwoja? A gallery. Yes, a gallery. You would think that we would have an internationally renowned Aboriginal art gallery at Alice Springs. But instead, what we've got is a government that's completely downsized, completely disrespecting the people of Alice Springs, and just...
Okay, stop the interjections. Please continue, Member for Daly, in silence.
So the government, the CLP government, actually had an opportunity. It's been budgeted for, it'd been advocated to the federal government. Catherine King, the minister down in Canberra, allocated that money for the Aboriginal Art Gallery. And what do the CLP do? They come in and downsize it. They disrespect the arts sector. Shame. Completely disrespect the creative sector. And I can hear the member for Blaine calling out, but he's got no idea how the arts sector feel about this, because we've had many people come to us and raise their concerns. They were very excited to see this art gallery put up in Alice Springs. So I suggest to the member for Blaine, if you're going to, before you call out, maybe you go and meet with the arts sector. Maybe you go and meet with Central Australian tourism sector and get down there and see how they feel about it. Because I guarantee you haven't been down there to speak to the sector, to speak to the people of how important this art gallery is. And you're not delivering, you're downsizing it, This was going to be a world national Aboriginal art gallery, and you've just said, you know what, this isn't important to us, we're just going to downgrade it, we're just going to put it in the corner into a little car park and not worry about it. And that shows so much disrespect to our creative sector, to our arts sector, to the people of Alice Springs, to the traditional owners from the region, from Central Australia, who would have had their art piece showcased in a national art gallery with international and domestic visitors coming to Alice Springs. There would have been a site where people would have been excited to go and visit, to go and see our wonderful arts sector, to see some of our wonderful Aboriginal artists, world-renowned artists. But you've said, no, we don't care about you, we're just going to downsize it and put it in the corner. So, Madam Speaker, again, coming back to the Silkwood project, which we're talking about here today, as I've said before, you know, this is a good announcement. It's good to see the expansion of the Litchfield National Park. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that, but we do have some of those questions around the purchase price, and I think, you know, with a transparent government that you say you are, I would hope that you'd be able to answer those questions why it costs more than 50% more. Why it costs 50% more than the asking price. And I understand the member for Goyder will get up and answer those questions I hear, but there was some criticism. I was on Katie Wolf, and I know Matt Cunningham from Sky News also had concerns around those questions, So the property was worth under $5 million. We got it more than 50%. I think that's a pretty bad deal. So, Madam Speaker, in closing, I On behalf of the tourism, creative and business sectors, we do call on this government to be transparent around the cost of that price, because $2-3 million, that can go a long way for a small business, for a small tourism operator. For fixing up our roads along the day, that could have gone into upgrading some of the roads along that stretch of road, because there will be more traffic heading down 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙀𝙎𝙏 Road. And I'm not sure if many of you have been down 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙀 Road. I know the member for Namatjira has been down there plenty of times. He goes down there quite regularly on his fishing trips. But he would know how terrible that road is and how dangerous it can be. He would know that, and we did do upgrades to those roads. You can see all the new culverts down there. I drive it quite regularly. Clearly, the member for Fenny Bay, the member for Wanguri haven't been down there because they haven't seen those new culverts put in, or they're just driving with their blind. They're driving blind because they haven't seen the new upgrades. But when you have extra traffic, you're going to get extra wear and tear on the roads. So that money, extra money that could have gone into the property, could have gone back into those roads to upgrade them, or could have gone into our tourism industry down there to upgrade some of the facilities down there. So those questions do need to be answered, and I would hope that this government do answer those questions, because it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money that they've paid overprice for. But I look forward to getting down there myself. I've visited many of the parts where they've purchased. I've been to Robin Falls, down that way. I've actually hiked up in behind there. It is a beautiful piece of land. There's many waterholes, many creeks. Even our mountain bike riders go down there occasionally too. They ride from Adelaide River and they go down the back track and they come over the top into Robin Falls down there. I've spoken to many people doing that when I've camped there. And many people also hike up around the top there. It's a beautiful piece of land, and I look forward to continuing to visit down there and speaking to the many visitors that visit the park and enjoy the territory for what it is. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, I advise of the presence in the gallery of Year 5 and 6 students from St Mary's Catholic Primary School, accompanied by their teachers. On behalf of honourable members, I welcome you to Parliament House. Member for Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, like everyone else in the Territory, I love Litchfield and its surrounds, and I've spent many, many wonderful times, including at what now will be part of Silkwood Park, including in the secret spots, which we will now have to share, which I'm happy to do, I guess. No, I'm happy to do. And it's always so wonderful to hear talk of new national parks for the Northern Territory. To see 30,000 hectares of this incredible country, the Minister outlined some of what it includes: waterfalls, hot springs, escarpments, beautiful bush. To see that preserved and returned to the hands of Territorians rather than sold off or locked up in private ownership is absolutely something worth celebrating. Litchfield National Park holds a very special place in the heart of so many Territorians. And as the Minister also pointed out, land is the one thing that they're not making any more of. The possibility of expanding Litchfield to include Silkwood is really exciting, and we know that it means more opportunities for people to connect with country, more biodiversity is protected, and another piece of land that future generations can enjoy as much as we do. I listened closely to the Minister's report and I thank him for his outline for the vision of this park. I still have some questions that I'd love him to answer. One is, how is cultural heritage in the proposed Silkwood National Park being identified, protected and managed? And is this work being done hand in hand with the Kanarakan and Waro people? We know that there are significant rock art sites in the park. What work is being done to map and safeguard other areas of cultural significance? I'm also unclear about the tenure of the land. Is Silkwood going to be part of Litchfield National Park? And if so, what are the native title and land use implications if this land is declared a national park? If it's not going to be part of Litchfield National Park, what is it going to be? What tenure will it have? And what's the plan to conserve and manage the cultural and natural values of the park if it's not a national park? So just as I'm very much looking forward to my next camping trip in this beautiful place, I look forward to the answers to these questions. I know that Silkwood could become a shining example of what's possible when we commit to conservation, culture and community all at the same time. I look forward to seeing some of you out there at Robin Falls, at the hot springs or some of the secret camping spots. It's a fantastic, beautiful place. So thank you for giving it back to the Territory. And as I said, I look forward to hearing how those really important issues are going to be managed as part of that, and exactly what the details of how that land, what the tenure of that land is. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Goyder.
Madam Speaker, last year we were elected on the commitment to restore our Territory lifestyle, and the acquisition of the Silkwood estate is an important piece of that commitment. In this year of action, certainty and security, we are delivering on our promise to establish a new hunting reserve. We are ensuring that there are camping, four-wheel drive, hunting, exploring and other great Territory hobbies just down the road. By securing this parcel of land, we are locking in access to this incredible place for generations of Territorians to come. When people ask me what our government means when we talk about the Territory lifestyle, I tell them, have a look at Silkwood. This CLP government knows the Territorians love getting out and about and exploring the great outdoors, and I know I do, Madam Speaker, and I believe hopefully you do too. They love going camping, they love spending time with their friends and families. It's not only hugely popular, but it's a way of life in the Territory. The planning for the next dry season worth of camping is already starting across many households in the Territory. We know that Litchfield National Park and all our national parks are a major draw card for tourists, both domestic and international. And there's something iconic about Litchfield. First established in 1986 under a CLP government, thanks to the generosity of the Townsend family surrendering part of the Stapleton lease, it was later expanded with the addition of Tipperary Station and parts of Camp Creek Station. Now, Madam Speaker, enough with the history, let's talk about Litchfield quickly. I remember visiting the rock holes and waterfalls of Litchfield National Park with my family growing up when I was small, later with my mates in my trusty Hyundai Getz when I was a bit bigger, and then visiting friends and family if they've come to the Territory as a way of showing off our great Territory landscape that they just can't get anywhere else. I'm sure many in this chamber have fond memories of swimming at Bewley Rockhole and jumping in, or at Florence Falls and the 100 stairs you have to take to get up and down, or at Wanguri, which is scary, and Tolma Falls, or my personal favourite, the Upper Cascades. Now, the Upper Cascades is beautiful. It's like Bewley Rockhole, but better. The only downside is you have to go for a massive hike. So I highly recommend bringing someone to carry the esky, Madam Speaker. Now, locals know, and we all know in this chamber, the popularity of Litchfield can sometimes make the existing spots a bit crowded. We've all pulled up and seen the car park full and decided to go further down the track. Now, the unlocking of Central Valley camping spots in the previous years by the Labor government was a welcome addition, so they don't get everything wrong. And I highly recommend if anyone has a dry season night, they can go down there and camp. It's a beautiful spot. Now, Madam Speaker, back to Silkwood. When people think Silkwood, I want them to think Litchfield on steroids. Located right next door to the existing southeast portion of Litchfield National Park is the incredible parcel land that we have now acquired. It is 35,766 hectares of God's country located near Adelaide River. Cornered by Doorat Road and Daly River Road, it's just down the track. And I've been lucky enough to go camping at what we're now calling Silkwood, I didn't know it was called that at the time, with family, friends and NT Scouts over the years. The infamous secret hot springs that everyone in Darwin knows about, the swimming in cold creeks, the exploring the caves that exist and the four-wheel drive tracks, riding my motorbike and quad bikes through smaller tracks, camping out of phone range and just enjoying the company of those I'm with around a fire. I've camped at Robin Falls with the dogs and even shared a tent with them in the rain. It's one of my truly favourite spots in the Territory. Now, Madam Speaker, you might be wondering, like many of those that see me out and about, how do you get to Silkwood? I like measuring distances in the Territory by the number of corners it takes me to get there. For example, Madam Speaker, my office in Coalinga is only 4 short corners away from your office in Alice Springs. You just got to simply turn right from Henning Road onto the Stewart Highway heading south. After about 15 hours, turn left onto Stott Terrace in Alice Springs, quick left onto Bath, and then another left at the roundabout. We're practically neighbours. Well, Madam Speaker, when you're wondering how to get to Silkwood, it's only 4 short corners from your office in Alice Springs. Simply turn right onto Railway Terrace, left onto Whittaker Road, right onto the highway, and then when you get up 10 hours or 14 hours later, turn left onto Dheran Road, and there's another optional corner onto Adelaide River Road if you want to go to the hot springs. But if you want to go to Robin Falls, 4 simple corners. It's just down the road, and Madam Speaker, it's well worth the trip. I'm more than happy to show you on a map where the good spots are. When I first heard the government was securing the Silkwood parcel of land for future Territorians, I let my now fiancée Mel know that if we have kids, my firstborn will be named after the member for Breitling. I love that man. I love that minister. He's a great bloke. He's doing a great job, and this is another feather in his cap. And Silkwood is more than just a parcel of land. It is a canvas of opportunity, the land of opportunity, if you would. I know the member for Berkeley thinks the land of opportunity is in his backyard, but Madam Speaker, it's in mine. Well, technically, the member for Daly's, but I reckon I live closer to it than he does. It is a place where new generations of Territorians will create their own memories, just as many of us did growing up around Litchfield. It offers the chance to expand our camping grounds, walking tracks and our 4-wheel drive adventures so that families can continue to enjoy the simple joy of pitching a tent, sharing a meal around a fire and waking up to the sounds of running water and native birds. This is the kind of investment that doesn't just pay off for today, it pays off for decades to come. Silkwood holds within it the potential for ecotourism ventures, new swimming holes and trails, the opportunities for a managed hunting and potentially fishing if there's any fish that high up. It is an asset that supports both the lifestyle and the livelihood. It creates jobs in tourism, hospitality and land management while protecting biodiversity and heritage. And I know there'll be many camping spots, but there'll also be, you've got the caravan park just down the road on Adelaide River Road, you've got more camping just to the north towards Litchfield and Adelaide River, so it'll be great for the whole area, the whole region. Silkwood is the Territory lifestyle written across 35,766 hectares of country, hot springs, waterfalls, rainforests, escarpments and wide open bush. It is a place where Territorians and visitors alike will enjoy nature without the pressure of overcrowding, where we can spread out, swim and cool down, or swim and heat up in the dry season, and explore and discover. It's a place where young people can learn the bushcrafts, scouts can go camping, families can fish, and 4-wheel drive clubs can chart new trails, and hunters can try their luck. It is a gift not just to us, but for those who come after us, ensuring that the best of the Territory remains open, accessible, and alive with opportunity. Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for Lands Planning and Environment, the Minister for Parks and Wildlife, who I'm sure we will hear from soon, who will help turn this parcel into the iconic icon I know it will become, and the whole of government in backing this decision and backing the Territory lifestyle. Now that we've got the positive stuff, I just want to quickly remind everybody that when we're in this chamber, it's always polite to listen to what people have to say. So when I listened to the Minister for Lands Planning and Environment explain that the parcel first went up for sale for $14 million, and then it was adjusted $18 million, then $14 million, at no point was the parcel of land for sale for $4 million. I do not understand what ChatGPT or staffer upstairs is working for the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, but it's nice to check your facts once in a while. If you Google the words Silkwood real estate, you can find the original listings, you can find the NT News articles at the time which state those values, and this idea that the government somehow paid 50% more than the asking price when in fact we paid 50% less than the asking price is an embarrassment on their research on those on the opposite. Thank you.
Member for Drysdale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, to speak further on the member for Daly, and I'd like to speak about his comments regarding the economy and people needing art galleries, which is an absolute insult to people in my electorate. If Labor is still pushing that art galleries is the economic mover that will get people in my electorate to be able to afford their grocery bills or to pay their electricity bills or their mortgage, it is just utter nonsense. It shows such disconnect and disdain for the working people in my electorate. So many people throughout my time doing this role, during my campaign, I stood at Coles and spoke to people as they could not afford their grocery bills. And yet Labor still comes in here and their grand economic reform is building more art centres. It is so disconnected from the reality facing the common Territorian. And the people of my electorate do not want, when they are hungry, to go visit a state-of-the-art art centre. They want to afford a basic shop at Coles. They want to make sure they can see a doctor when their child is sick, and they want to make sure a teacher is in the classroom when their child goes to school. This idealism is just so disconnected with the basic needs of everyday Territorians. It truly astounds me that the member for Daly pushed that narrative, and I sincerely hope his party colleagues realign on where Territorians' needs are at the moment, and that isn't the economic package they move forward with in the future. So coming back to Silkwood, Madam Speaker, this is a great opportunity for the people of Drysdale. The people of Drysdale are very active. All you've got to do is drive around. You'll see the large number of four-wheel drives, trailers, camper vans, boats. We're a very active community and enjoy getting out and amongst that territory's nature and the environment that we have to offer. I think there's a genuine natural beauty to the territory that we've all felt, and to get families involved in that I think is very important, and it raises that love of nature, especially in our children. I know for myself, my father took us out all the time, and it raises a natural curiosity for plants, animals, the natural world, and raises another generation of those who care about the conservation of the environment. And so there's huge benefits to when government puts land aside so that nature can be enjoyed. And so I commend our government on doing that. What I quite like about Silkwood is, there's a touch of innovation to it. We're making sure it's an active park. And we'll have four-wheel drive tracks, which we know is very popular amongst certain Territorians. And so they can go out, they can put their vehicles to the test, put their skills to the test, and do it all whilst enjoying nature. I'm also very glad there's a hunting reserve. There's a large amount of hunters in my electorate who this is good news for, and we have a lot of avid hunters. But we also have a lot of people who partake in hunting maybe once or twice a season, and it's part of an event they'll do with friends or families once a year, which is great. And I myself, I haven't been hunting for some time now, but it's a pretty special thing to hunt. I had the great honour of learning to hunt in the member for Arnhem's electorate, and with a very respected family, and it was truly, I do understand when especially we hear about the importance of Aboriginal law and hunting, because I got to grow up and experience that. And to me, that is actually one of the very special moments of my childhood, learning to hunt out on the Coburg Peninsula. And to this day... Oh, sorry, Arafura, sorry. I meant Arafura from the beginning, so... yeah. Sorry, Opposition Leader. Yeah, I meant Arafura from the beginning. Yes. And Jim, who's no longer with us, but I was very lucky, especially as a white kid, to be able to go out there and Jim teach me how to hunt, what to hunt, when I was allowed to hunt on his land. And what I consider moral when hunting is still very much his rules. And so that's a pretty special memory for me. And I'm glad others, they might not get that experience at this hunting reserve, but there's a natural, you're in your natural element on a hunt. and I think it's important we preserve that, and it's available here in the Northern Territory. So, yes, I think that it's an innovative way. This park will, you know, it'll be, the laws may change in this place, but this park will be here for my children, my grandchildren, and hopefully my great-grandchildren, and they can go and enjoy it and have no idea who I was, but know that the park is there for their enjoyment. So it's good to see Silkwood come, and yeah, I thank everyone for the involvement, and yeah, and for Jim for giving me his rules and my own memories on hunting. So thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Drysdale. Member for Gwoja.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I do rise to speak about the importance of Silkwood. And whilst I think the Northern Territory Government is incompetent, I don't think they're completely incompetent. This has been a good decision. I think acquiring land for natural parks and reserves is incredibly important, and it is something that we are able to have for future generations. I think when we do talk about this, it's important that we understand, and I hope that the Tourism and Parks and Wildlife Minister can talk us through around the amazing opportunities that are before us right now. And I hope that Silkwood can be a reserve that is jointly managed with Aboriginal Territorians to ensure that the utmost respect for cultural and spiritual heritage is abided and is respected, and that those tourism opportunities are afforded to our Aboriginal Territorians to really look at and help shape the Territory. Now, national parks in the Northern Territory are absolutely amazing. Saturday night, I was in Trafina Gorge in Central Australia, camping out in that natural, beautiful park, and it was truly amazing. Parks and Wildlife do an amazing job. We are hoping that the government will deliver their election commitment, which is to make Territory parks free, as they said they would at the Territory election. So that is certainly where we're looking for, and what we're looking for into the future, Mr Deputy Speaker. Again, as I've said, this is a really important announcement, and one that I absolutely welcome. I think it is important. I think that every single Territorian has experienced the beauty and the majesty of our national parks, and they are absolutely amazing, and they are managed. They are managed by amazing people. They are managed by our rangers. Our rangers look after these parks and reserves to make sure that they are in tip-top condition. And I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for all of that work. I do acknowledge that the government have cut Aboriginal ranger funding by $12 million by not renewing the program they said that they would renew. But it is important to acknowledge the role of our rangers. Managing fire breaks, invasive weed species, and those places of spiritual and cultural significance to Aboriginal Territorians is incredibly important. Now, I think when we look at this, I was very heartened to see that there was a commitment to do this. I think that there is another location in the Northern Territory that should be a national park. Work has been done and was being undertaken before the change of government. And I asked this government to consider looking at making another reserve, another national park, and that is the Coniston National Park. That is the last site of a sanctioned massacre in Australia in 1928, just outside of Alice Springs. And work has been undertaken with traditional owners around whether or not that is appropriate. Yes, they think it's appropriate. Work was being undertaken before the change of government. We did heritage list the Coniston site, but I would absolutely love to work with the government on working to make the Coniston massacre site part of a national park or a reserve to honour and respect and absolutely memorialise the events that unfolded there, because it is a truly important place to Central Australians, and we do need to protect it for the future. I think that there are amazing opportunities right now before us when we're talking about the future use of these areas, and the government have already signalled that it might be a hunting reserve for part thereof. And I think obviously we need to work through what the insurances look like, how you can enter, the safety regulations and so forth, incredibly important. But I do think that there are other opportunities as well to work with our environmental groups, our wonderful environmental groups across the Northern Territory, to look at how we can partner with them in these reserves to make sure that we're maintaining and that we are supporting those important and unique ecosystems in each of those national parks, because our parks are just as unique and special as every corner and every person in the Territory is. So, look, I won't spend too much time today. It is a welcomed announcement. Certainly looking forward to finding out the finer details into the future, because, yes, we do need to know that. We do want to work through it. And, you know, I think that there are some opportunities to look at diversification in some areas as well, as long as they're done in partnership with traditional owner groups and local communities. I think, particularly coming from the southern region of the NT, we are regularly out in our national parks, whether we're taking friends who've come from interstate, whether we're getting out there ourselves, hiking sections of the Larapinta Trail or so forth. They're amazing. They absolutely showcase the best of the Territory, and that's really important. Mr. Speaker, I do just want to touch on, there's been a number of members in this chamber who have been talking about tourism and about the arts. And I just want to remind everyone in this House that year on year, the creative industries generate $734 million into the Territory's economy. 2,400 direct jobs in the Northern Territory are supplied and supported through our arts community. That is not a figure to shy away from. That is not a figure to talk down. That is a figure to celebrate. Our creative industries and our arts drives the economy in the Territory just as much as some of our other industries. Please respect them. Please acknowledge their amazing contributions. For many of our First Nations Territorians, their art is not only a creative masterpiece in its own right, it might be their only livelihood. They might be their only bit of income that's coming in to support them and their families. So yes, we can have a contest of ideas around whether or not we support a particular project, whether or not we think it's worthy or not. But when it comes to talking about creative industries and the arts, they are a significant powerhouse in the Territory's economy. $734 million, over 2,400 jobs in the Territory are supported through the arts. And then we've got the indirect jobs. That's the managing the art supplies, it's the tourism components, it's the retail elements, a really important section of our community. And we really should be respecting them when we're talking about projects, whether it's the government or was the former government. Let's actually just remember that we are talking about amazing people, our creative community, whether they are visual artists, whether they're performing artists, whether they're one of our many talented musicians. They all contribute in their own way, importantly, to the Territory's economy. Let's value them and let's acknowledge their work, because it is incredibly important. Aboriginal tourism, again, people come to the Northern Territory for an Indigenous experience most of the time. They come, they want to experience our amazing culture, our landscapes, our songs, our stories. That's something that we should absolutely celebrate. Again, an amazing economic driver in the Territory through tourism. So I think that there is, yes, work to be done in these spaces, but absolutely acknowledging the amazing landscape that we get to work in, an amazing number of players in the Territory's tourism and arts sector who are doing great things. Recently been out to Yalara in my electorate and seeing the amazing opportunities there for tourism, incredibly special and important. Look, I'd love to see us all getting behind and supporting those smaller festivals right across the Northern Territory. I've just finished up in my own electorate at the Gurindji Day, Freedom Day Festival, Gurindji Pride, absolutely celebrating that. These are events that we can use to bring people to the Territory. I have been concerned, though, that I have heard from people out in the community that the National Indigenous Music Awards have had their funding halved. Please, government, really just understand what that means. We are at real risk of losing the NEMAs to Melbourne and Sydney. We cannot lose the NEMAs. This showcases First Nations music and creativity on a national stage. It's part of our August Arts and Cultural Month experience. We do not want to lose the 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙋𝙎. We cannot lose the 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙋𝙎. It showcases the very best of our First Nations brothers and sisters' creative talent. And people come to the Territory to see it. It's at the amphitheatre. It's under a canvas of stars shining bright in the night skies when you are seeing our artists perform on that big stage. We do not want to lose it to the East Coast. It brings people to the Territory, just as the Darwin Aboriginal Art Fair does, just as the Indigenous Fashion Awards do, just as Country 𝙏𝙎𝙎𝙎𝙎 does, just as the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Telstra Awards do. They bring people to the Territory. We need to be investing more into the arts. Everyone needs to be. It's not one particular party, but this party, the CLP, have already shown that they're cutting that funding to the 𝙏𝙈𝙈𝙋𝙎 and halving it and redirecting them. We cannot lose any of these major events. Please reconsider that. But great to talk about Silkwood as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Gwoja. Member for Brenton.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and it's an honour to be able to speak to this Ministerial Report about Silkwood. And I actually don't know where to start. There's been so much going on in the chamber in the last couple of hours, but I do want to start by saying that maybe the member for Gwoja could have a chat to the Deputy Leader of the Opposition about how you can speak in Parliament without being accusations flying around everywhere, all misleading, completely misleading, trying to paint out like he is this amazing politician. I have two questions for him. Where has he been over the last not only 12 months but 4 years before that when he was here in this chamber, and who is he talking to? Because he has completely lost the plot, basically trying to recreate history as if the previous government, which he was part of, was this amazing tourism mecca of ideas and opportunities, which is just not the case. And we know that because they literally left projects sitting on the shelf on their special program, which had millions and billions of dollars on it, but never went ahead for so many years. Things like the Alice Springs Aboriginal Art Gallery, things like the Tourism Information Centre in Alice Springs. So I just think, you know, he just needs to walk around the Northern Territory over the last couple of months and see what has been going on here when it comes to our tourism and our economy. We have had a bumper season. Wherever you are in the Northern Territory, it has been bumper. We just listened to the member for Gwoja talk about the amazing things happening over the last couple of months in his electorate. So he's on board with that, but we just can't get them talking to each other about the other amazing things that are happening here in the Territory. Maybe they're divided. Good point. Mr Deputy Speaker, I also want to clear up the record about this price that the opposition keeps talking about, and I seek leave, Mr Deputy Speaker, to table
Order. Leader of the Opposition,
a document.
cease interjecting. Continue.
I seek leave to table a document.
Leave Green.
This document is a copy of the NT News article dated December 2024, which very clearly highlights that the original asking price was over $18 million, and the owner would consider offers over $14 million. We bought this piece of land. Oh, do I have to table this now? The official, yeah. I seek leave to table it. I tabled it. Done. Okay, great. We offered $7.5 million for that parcel of land, and that was what was accepted. It represents incredible value for Territorians. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, the other part I loved about the contribution this morning was hearing from the member for Goyder talking about the excitement, not only for himself and his family, but for other rural residents about what Silkwood's purchase means to them. And he talked about being able for it to be so rugged, and you could just go out there and have all these secret, not so secret places to go. And I certainly have been out in the community, and that's exactly the types of things that they have been talking to me about. And you can see how excited he is, and he's obviously feeling that sense from his community as well. So I do thank you for those contributions, because that is incredibly important, and we want to make sure that we are representing as many Territorians as possible, and that we certainly do that here at the CLP government. The member for Drysdale talking about when he walks around and can see all of the four-wheel drives in people's driveways. Like, that is absolute truth, and I have that in my own electorate, and I'm sure many, many of you also do. And the fact that there are not only four-wheel drives, but there are camper trailers everywhere. There are so many of them. Then it's amazing to see that that's what Territorians love to do. And so Silkwood is going to open up that opportunity for them to use their four-wheel drives, to use their camper trailers and be out and about in our amazing, unique lifestyle. Like, that is incredible. I just want to correct the record as well about this myth that Labor keep peddling about how you have to pay to go to Litchfield National Park. I mean, that is absolute absurd. Territorians may remember that a number of years ago, it was Labor that brought in the tax on park passes for tourists to have to pay to access our parks. Territorians don't pay. We didn't make that change. It was Labor that brought in the fact that tourists had to pay, and Territorians have never had to pay to go into Litchfield or any of our national parks for that matter. So please stop peddling those mistruths in this House. Mr Deputy Speaker, this Silkwood is absolutely incredible, and I want to take people through, in the last 5 minutes that I've got, some of the things that have been said about this place. And I'll go back to when we had our inaugural NT Investment Summit, where we had more than 100 investors and global business leaders who came to Darwin to see firsthand the enormous potential of our territory. And it was amazing to be able to showcase Silkwood to those people, just to give them a touch of what it was all about. And one of them actually said, and I quote, "The Silkwood acquisition provides the NT government a unique opportunity to fast-track development of high-value tourism assets on the doorstep of Litchfield without any sort of compromise to the environment. With the lack of current lack of accommodation in Litchfield, as well as growing local interstate and international visitation, there is an opportunity that Intrepid, that was the name of the business, will need to deeply consider." This kind of announcement is one that turns heads, it builds confidence. It's not just about our parks, but it's about the territory as a place to invest, to grow and to do business. So we are very, very proud of this. And it is indeed, Member for Drysdale, innovative. This means that all of the challenges that we've seen over a number of years in our tourism economy, but also our economy in general, which was going backwards under Labor, this kind of investment allows us to turn the tide on that and actually do things that will not only secure economic benefit today, but also into the future for our children and grandchildren. Madam Speaker, Litchfield already attracts over 250,000 visitors a year, and of course that then comes with its challenges, the pressure on those places. It means, of course, we want to try and find other areas to be able to expand on that. So that's what this does. It opens up new spaces for walking trails, four-wheel drive tracks, waterfalls, swimming holes and bush camping. And that's the kind of experiences that draw people back time and time again, year after year. It also means that more money will be spent into our regions, places like Adelaide River, places like Bachelor, all of these things where we can support local businesses, of course, jobs. That is the game-changing thing that can happen for all of our regions, Madam Speaker. And this is something also that tour operators, our tourism sector, have been calling for a number of years. They keep saying, we need new product, we need new product. Well, guess what? This delivers on that new product. So it's a huge win for them as well. And of course, my colleague spoke about the hunting ground that's going to be out there, which is going to be amazing, and we're doing the work towards that now. Obviously, we've had four-wheel drive enthusiasts that have been talking to us. We've had mountain bike enthusiasts talking to us. There's so much ecotourism opportunity. There is just an ample amount of people wanting to talk to us about how we can make this even better for Territorians and for our visitors. A man called Rick wrote to me, and him and his dog wrote to me, dog Rio, and they said they're so passionate about camping in that area, and they just want to make sure that they can still go out there and that he can take his dog Rio with him as well. And of course, that is very important as well for Territorians. We all love our fur babies, as we heard this week in this chamber. So of course, this is tourism. This is innovative. This is delivering on one of our three key pillars, which of course is restoring our lifestyle for Territorians, but it's also rebuilding our economy, which was our other key pillar that we promised to deliver. So it's not just about a purchase, it's about lifestyle, it's about tourism, it's about economy. It pretty much covers every single thing that we have been talking about in this chamber for the last 12 months to Territorians. And we have the master plan that's going to be worked on now. We've got a range of people involved in this process because we want it to remain as rugged as possible, but we want to be able to make sure we can enhance that for Territorians and our visitors. And of course, we will take the time to do that because we need to make sure that we can unlock every opportunity while we're preserving the beauty that is that area for, like I said, generations to come. So, Madam Speaker, under a CLP government, we're unlocking the new experiences, we're restoring our lifestyle, we're backing the industries that will carry us into the future. And like we always talk about, this is what action looks like. This is what delivering on promises look like. And it's about restoring our unique territory lifestyle. And I'm so very proud of our whole team. It's across many ministries, across many departments, and across many Territorians as well who have contributed to this amazing purchase. And it's there ready for everybody to enjoy now and into the future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Wanguri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the Minister's report on the acquisition of Silkwood and the expansion of Litchfield National Park. This is a significant and positive development for the Northern Territory. It represents not only major investments in our park estates, but also a long-term commitment to strengthening our tourism industry, growing our economy and protecting the lifestyles that makes the Territory unique. Madam Speaker, our parks are the backbone of the Territory's tourism sector. Every year, over 250,000 people visit Litchfield National Park. It is one of the most iconic attractions, drawing families, self-drive tourists and international visitors alike. But as the Minister has highlighted, the park is now at capacity. Campsites are booked out months ahead and visitors are often turned away. The acquisition of Silkwood provides this solution. At more than 30,000 hectares, Silkwood opens up new opportunities for campgrounds, bushwalking trails, four-wheel drive tracks, swimming holes and ecotourism ventures. And I refer to the member for Daly who mentioned that we've paid too much, so 50% more. I remind the member for Daly that we've actually paid approximately $250 per hectare, which I think is a bargain when we look at the shadeless sales structure over here on Kavanagh Street. Yeah, how much was that? I think it was $4 million. It's not even a hectare. So I think this is a bargain. Madam Speaker, the economic benefits are clear. Tourism is one of our most important industries. Visitors come to the Territory for nature, for adventure and for authentic outdoor experiences. By expanding Litchfield, we can now offer products that keep people here longer, and that's just it. People were fleeing in droves before the CLP came into government, and this now gives them an opportunity to have extra outdoor activities in a new place so they can stay longer. Encourage them to spend more time, and this actually creates those jobs that the member for Daly was talking about also in the towns and the communities in his electorate. So we are providing those job opportunities. Silkwood's location, just over an hour from Darwin, and it makes ideal for growing self-drive market. This is an industry that directs benefits for local businesses, from those caravan parks and the service stations to cafes. I know I often buy an ice cream and stop off in those service stations to pick up lunch, tour operators and cultural experiences. Every additional day a visitor spends in the Territory, it actually adds to our economy. Every new opportunity created within Silkwood means work for local people. Madam Speaker, this is also about our lifestyle. In the past, my family and friends have experienced this congestion. Door knocking in my electorate, these issues were raised as many families take their children during the school holidays and also experiencing the overcrowding. The constituents in Wanguri electorate love camping, hunting, swimming and four-wheel driving. Every second house in my electorate has a four-wheel drive or a camper trailer, and many constituents look forward to the dry season camping. But some have often even had to do this during the wet season to avoid the overcrowding. By expanding Litchfield into Silkwood, we ensure that our families continue to enjoy weekends, camping under the stars, swimming at safe and accessible waterholes, and exploring those new landscapes. Securing Robin Falls as part of this estate is particularly important. It is already popular, but unmanaged and under increasing pressure. By bringing it into the parks estate, we protect it properly for the future, safe, sustainable and open to all. Madam Speaker, this acquisition is also about long-term vision. Silkwood now gives us room to grow, not just now, but for decades to come. It will allow for the development of new trails, new activities and new opportunities as demand increases. It ensures that we are planning ahead, unlike our Labor counterparts, spreading visitations across the border area and protecting the natural environment while still supporting growth. And Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the acquisition of Silkwood and the expansion of Litchfield National Park is a win for tourism, a win for the economy and a win for the Territory lifestyle. It secures one of the Territory's most spectacular landscapes, provides new opportunities for Territorians and visitors alike, and strengthens one of our greatest economic assets, our parks. I commend the Minister for bringing forward this report, and I fully support this acquisition as a bold and forward-looking investment into the Territory's future. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, it's 1 minute to midday, so I will suspend the Assembly until 2 p.m. Enjoy your lunch, and I look forward to seeing you in question time.